So, hello, I'm Ignas. I'm Lithuanian by nationality, and I work at Vytautas Magnus University in Kaunas, Lithuania. I work there as an associate professor at the Department of Public Communication, and generally my research interest is in the area of information security, manipulation, disinformation, propaganda, post-truth, and that sort of broad areas. So basically, I'm interested in the abnormalities of communication. So peace has become a very sort of strange and diffuse concept because as with most terms that are really topical at a given time, peace has been used and abused by political and other interest groups to describe their agenda. Because, of course, intuitively, we all want peace, we all want security. It is just that we imagine peace and ways towards peace in extremely different ways. Generally, I would define peace as a condition in which we feel secure, in which we feel that there is no, at least imminent threat to our interests or even our existence. But again, what exact meaning we put into all of those elements might differ very significantly from person to person. Well, not directly, fortunately. Definitely I have experience of peace, but not of war. However, over the recent years, I have worked quite a lot with, for example, students from Ukraine, and even on the 24th of February 2022, when Russia's full-scale invasion started, I was due to teach classes at another university, and those classes consisted of, in some cases, 50% plus Ukrainians. It was an extremely complicated moment, an extremely complicated situation, and I've had students who have gone to war. Unfortunately, I have students who have died in war, and this is my experience as a lecturer, but it's a very distant experience, and nothing in comparison to what people actually live through in situations of war and other types of conflict. So conflicts in the broadest sense, from disputes when it comes to communication to full-scale wars when it comes to international security, they to some extent start and end similarly, because it's all about incompatible worldviews. It's all about incompatible interests, or at least situations when worldviews or interests are perceived as incompatible. And the situations might vary. We may have situations where it's just miscommunication, misunderstanding that has spiraled out of control, but nobody is really more culpable than anybody else. Of course, we have other situations where we can determine the objectively wrong side, the one who injures the other. So that certainly has to be taken into account, but generally it's all about incompatibilities that are clashing against one another. And of course, any durable end to the conflict, or to war even, can only come when those incompatibilities are somehow made less sharp, less pointy, and when at least some area of understanding is established. I mean, with long-term rivalries, with long-term conflicts, we can't expect people to just suddenly start loving and hugging each other. But at least if there is some kind of framework for understanding, for reconciliation, it's not a coincidence that some really bloody conflicts or really bloody instances of dictatorship have ended with peace and reconciliation commissions. So some sort of reconciliation, working things together is necessary if we don't want to end up in situations of, really either Cold War or hot peace, but actually if we want durable peace. First of all, there needs to be mutual willingness to do that, because if there's only one side wishing to put an end to the conflict, and the other side, because either it's deluded or because it's too invested in some way in the conflict as such, then we are not going to see an end to a conflict, at least not an end in sort of durable and mutually agreeable terms. We can see an end there, for example, if we're talking about military conflict, in terms of comprehensive defeat. That would be an end to a conflict in the sort of hot war sense, but it certainly will not be an end to the conflict in terms of underlying antagonisms and simmering anger that can then turn into yet another round of conflict. So the most important thing is mutual willingness. If that is absent, if it's present on one side only, then we're not going to achieve anything. There is, I think, dual meaning to that. On the one hand, it's an expression of a moral standing and moral solidarity. If we feel that one side to the conflict is comprehensively wrong, and the other side is therefore a victim to an injustice, then first of all, boycotting, protesting, or doing similar things, it's essentially our moral duty, but also it's an act of moral solidarity, demonstrating that the victim is not forgotten, the victim is not alone, and we are there, we understand what is going on, and we are going to help them survive through the hardships that are taking place at the moment. So that's one level to that. The second level, of course, is much more complex in terms of trying to have a tangible impact. So, for example, if we are trying to organize a comprehensive boycott of the wrongdoers' products and services and so on, we may at least hope to have some sort of economic impact, or at least make sure that companies don't pay their tax money to the aggressor and so on, which is happening at the moment as well. So there's a sort of more substantial side to it, but of course it's much more difficult in practice, because it needs coordination, it needs solidarity, and it also needs, in most cases, political capacity to perhaps even push collective decisions, such as sanctions regimes and so on. It's an extremely tough thing to do, because as with all situations that are emotionally loaded, there's a lot of stuff going on from any side to wars and conflicts. And even the side that we feel or we know to be on the right side, they are also prone to emotions. They can also be prone to exaggerations and so on, which is completely understandable, because they are even more heavily invested in what's going on than us. I mean, it's their life and livelihood and so on at stake. So it's always important to keep that in mind. At the same time, it's also not necessarily a good decision to adopt this worldview of, I'm listening to one side, I'm listening to the other side, and the truth will be somewhere in the middle. No, what you'll get is probably you'll get half propaganda at best. My advice would be to try and be as critical and as detached as possible, which sounds very cynical, and it can be at some point cynical, but at the same time, you need to make sure that every time you see something, you're questioning, okay, so why is it there? Who has put this information here?